Valenti Vod. I'm your perfect and humble leader, Chris Valenti. Marco Rubio just got fucking demolished on the Senate floor. Rubio is testifying because of like the State Department budgets and how he's not doing his job because he's horrified of being fired by Trump. I don't know if you know this, but Marco Rubio and Elon Musk are at direct odds with each other because Marco Rubio is supposed to be in charge of USAID, but Doge has just gutted it entirely. That's why they were having like a screaming match with each other. But little Marco, who actually is a spineless fucking loser, he doesn't have the balls to stand up to the world's richest man, Elon Musk, the Fuhrer. But he's finally being grilled by the Senate Foreign Relations hearing, the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, and they just made him look like a fucking fool. And I want you to watch it. We're going to watch it together. But before we do, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. It costs you nothing, and it helps me immensely. And remember, this is real independent media. I have no funding, okay? I've never had a conversation with an advertiser or a billionaire or a government. So if you do want to support the channel financially, which I really do need, there's a couple of ways you could do it. You could become a patron on Patreon for $5. Massive shout out to the patrons. You could become a member on YouTube for $5. Massive shout out to the members. You could buy some of this dope-ass Valenti Videos merch located right down below, and you can use a 40% off discount code for the Vantage subscription on Ground News, also located in the description down below. Without further ado, let's watch Marco Rubio get his asshole ripped apart. Not in a gay way, but in a political way.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Brasso. Senator Van Hollen.
Senator Van Hollen, by the way, is the one doing this. And Senator Van Hollen is the Maryland senator who went all the way to El Salvador to meet with Kilmar Abrego Garcia. It's kind of like his moment to fame.
Mr. Secretary, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, you and I served together in Congress for 15 years. We didn't always agree, but I believe we shared some common values. A belief in defending democracy and human rights abroad, and honoring the Constitution at home.
Yep.
That's why I voted to confirm you.
Not so
much. I
much.
believed you would stand up for those principles. You haven't. You've done the opposite. And you used to speak with conviction about the importance of foreign aid as a tool to advance American values and interests.
Real quick, guys, I want to explain something about the policy of guns and roses, right? Imperialism comes in two forms, guns and roses, right? We will send the military to somewhere like Iraq and Afghanistan to slaughter 2 million civilians, and that's a way of establishing imperial control. Another way of establishing imperial control is through roses, through things like USAID, giving Ebola treatment and HIV medicine and water purification tablets to poor nations in Africa. It's a way to establish a foothold in that nation, make them reliant on American medicine, and develop a good relationship with the leaders there. What the Trump regime has decided to do is completely scrap the entire idea of roses and add $1 trillion to the military budget so that we can just go from guns and roses to a fucking bazooka and a dead rose. That's the Trump regime, okay? A warmongering, sycophantic Nazi regime that wants to invade Gaza, Greenland, Panama, Mexico, Canada, what the fuck else? Did I say Greenland? I fucking did.
Then you stood by while Elon Musk took a chainsaw to USAID and other assistance programs. That has left a staggering toll. Broken trust with countries.
Just so you know, guys, also, because of the USAID cuts, it's estimated that 26 million children will die over the next 20 years. Because there is food and medicine sitting in a warehouse with a fucking padlock on it, rotting away. Because the American representative working for USAID that was supposed to be sent there to open the fucking door has been fired by Elon Musk. So let me say this again. The world's richest man, nearly a trillionaire, Elon Musk, is responsible for the deaths of 26 million children. Let me rephrase it one more time. The world's richest man is killing 26 million of the poorest children on planet Earth. And MAGA will support it because they're all inferior. Let's keep watching.
and other adversaries, and countless preventable deaths of children and others. Take Sudan, for example. The freezing of U.S. humanitarian assistance forced the closure of nearly 80% of the emergency food kitchens there. 2 million famine-affected people were left without access to food. People died because of those actions. Mothers, fathers, and children. Tons of emergency food that could have saved their lives was left rotting in warehouses because you and Elon Musk refused to let USAID do its job. Sudan is a country where, by the administration's own determination, a genocide is unfolding in Darfur. But here's where it goes from cruel to despicable. While cutting off food aid to Sudanese families living through an actual genocide, you're fast-tracking white South Africans for refugee status under a manufactured claim that they are the victims of genocide.
Oh, you're giving white South Africans refugee status. I can only think of one white South African in the Trump regime, and that's Elon fucking Musk, the Führer of the United States of America and the richest man in human fucking history. You think that is a coinky-dink? Because if you do, I've got a prince in Nigeria who you're actually related to, and all he needs is your social security number in order to send you $50 million, you stupid fuck.
You tried to...
By the way, we just got a donation from Nelson. Nelson Snow just sent 5 memberships out. Congratulations to everybody who just got a membership. W. Nelson, W. Nelson.
Blocked the admission of individuals who had already been approved to come here as refugees while making bogus claims to justify granting such status to Afrikaners. You've made a mockery of our country's refugee process, turning it into a system of global apartheid where political ideology and race, more than truth or need, matter. And while you've turned away from a genocide in Sudan and invented one in South Africa, you teamed up with President Trump to throw the Ukrainian people under the bus and have been played like a fiddle by Vladimir Putin.
This comes after yesterday when Trump surrendered to Vladimir Putin. I made a video about this, but if you remember a couple months ago, Ukraine wasn't even invited to the negotiating table. The negotiation table was between the United States and Russia in order to come to terms on a ceasefire. And Trump was touting, he was like, Ukraine will not get a seat at the table. They should have won this. They shouldn't have started this war. Now, Trump just tweeted on Truth Social. He was like, the negotiations will only be between Russia and Ukraine. The only two parties who could possibly know the deal is in negotiation. I thought it was all about the art of the deal, Donald. I thought you were like the negotiating king. Oh, wait, never mind. You bankrupted a casino because you're a fucking moron who relies on daddy's money. Small loan of $1 million, right? You fucking fail, son. Your dead brother Fred was the better one. Fuck you.
Donald Trump not only said he would end the war in Ukraine on day one, he also said he would end the war in Gaza on day one. And yet last week you were all running around to Gulf states giving away very sensitive American AI and chips technology, but doing nothing to end the war in Gaza and get the remaining hostages returned. You know that for 78 days, the Netanyahu government did not allow a scrap of food to enter Gaza to reach over 2 million civilians. 57 children have died from malnutrition so far, and more than 14,000 children are in imminent danger of dying of starvation. As Cindy McCain said last week, and I quote, families in Gaza are starving while the food they need is sitting at the border. That is a gross violation of both U.S. and international law.
They don't give a fuck about that.
What did you do? Nothing. Not once did you publicly call upon the Netanyahu government to end the blockade. Fortunately, other countries spoke out, and now we see a tiny trickle going in. Where have you focused your energy instead, Mr. Secretary? Well, your first trip as Secretary of State was to El Salvador, not to promote democracy, but to cozy up to President Bukele, who calls himself the world's coolest dictator.
President Bukele is quite literally a dictator. He is also on a human rights watch list because CCOT is an extermination camp, and the prisoners in there never see sunlight the entire time they are there until the day that they die.
The result was a cash for collusion deal to deprive people living in America of their constitutional rights to due process. The Supreme Court, in a 9-0 decision, instructed you to facilitate the return to the United States of Abrego Garcia, who the administration admitted was wrongfully deported to El Salvador. Your response? You've openly flouted judicial orders. When asked whether you have been in touch with El Salvador to return Abrego Garcia, you boasted, quote, "I would never tell you that. And you know who else I would never tell? A judge." Clearly, you don't care about the Fifth Amendment right to due process, and you don't care about the First Amendment either, since you've been very busy snatching students off of college campuses for exercising their right to free speech.
Real quick, someone says, can you share the sources in the CCOC claims if you have time? These are claims directly from the El Salvadorian president. These are not secrets. Prisoners in CCOC do not ever step foot outside. This is not a conspiracy. They proudly released this information.
You dredged up a relic from the McCarthy era to claim that student protesters posed a threat to the foreign policy of the United States. Give me a break, Mr. Secretary. You know as well as I do this isn't about national security. It's about punishing free speech. And you know that in America, the government doesn't get to use its power to punish speech it doesn't like.
Well, it does under the
March,
Trump regime, because this is a fascist nation now. If you don't support the supreme leader, you will be labeled as an enemy of the state. And the U.S. State Department is directly intertwined with Israel's genocidal actions. So if you stand for Palestinian liberation, that means, by definition, you are an enemy of the state, according to the United States Defense Department, which is controlled by Marco Rubio. So anybody in this chat, if you've posted any sort of pro-Palestinian stuff, if you've been to a pro-Palestinian movement or a protest or anything like that, you are considered an enemy of the state. The First Amendment is gone.
You boasted about revoking student visas, saying, and I'm quoting, "We do it every day. Every time I find one of these lunatics, I take away their visa," unquote. Let's look at one of those lunatics, Mr. Secretary, Ms. Ozturk. Her crime was co-authoring an op-ed in her college paper critical of Tufts University's response to the war in Gaza. Your own department found zero links to terrorism, no anti-Semitic statements, but you still yanked her visa and shipped her off to detention in Louisiana. And the list goes on and on. The federal judge in the case of Mohsen Madawi, who was the Columbia student who was ambushed by federal agents at his citizenship appointment, said, and I quote, this is the judge, "Legal residents not charged with crimes or misconduct are being arrested and threatened with deportation for stating their views on the political issues of the day. Our nation has seen times like this before, especially during the Red Scare and Palmer raids."
Yeah, during the second Red Scare, but we are now living through the third Red Scare, okay? That is what you're going through right now. I made a video about this fucking months ago called "You Are Living Through the Third Red Scare." Go check that out.
Like the McCarthy-era witch hunts of the 1950s, your campaign of fear and repression is eating away at foundational values of our democracy. Back then, it took one voice, Attorney Joseph Welch, to cut through the hysteria with the simple question that marked the beginning of the end of that shameful era. He asked Senator McCarthy, "Have you no sense of decency?" And I would ask you the same, Secretary Rubio. You have shown through your words and your actions what the answer is. And I have to tell you directly and personally that I regret voting for you for Secretary of State. I yield back.
Fucking period, King. He just popped off. Now, here's the better part. Watch Rubio's childlike fucking reaction. Watch this baby back, facial hairless bitch fucking react.
May I respond?
You may sit.
Well, first of all, your regret for voting for me confirms I'm doing a good job, based on what I know.
Well, that's
about
just
your
a
record
flippant
and what
statement.
It's a grown man. That's the head of the Department of Defense. We're fucked.
Statement, Mr. Secretary.
Can I respond, Mr. Chairman?
You may.
I didn't ask
Senator,
questions.
please let the Secretary have
I'd be
the floor.
happy to, but then I can respond to his.
Your time's up, Senator, and willfully used, I might add. Your remarks do not represent the view of this committee.
Well, Mr. Chairman.
Secretary, please.
Well, I'd like to. I can't respond to everything he said because much of these are untrue, but I'll go through a few. First of all, I'm actually very proud of the work we've done with USAID. For example, I don't regret cutting $10 million for male circumcisions in Mozambique. I don't know how that makes us stronger and more prosperous as a nation.
I I don't think he understands that circumcision is a thing about genital health and it prevents the spread of diseases that fucking kill people. This is like the same. I bet you he said, like, I don't regret cutting HIV funding in Mozambique. Motherfucker, that's about soft power. They don't understand what soft power is.
I regret psychosocial support services.
I raised Sudan, Mr. Secretary.
Can I respond,
Senator, I'd ask you to suspend. You had 7 straight minutes.
I chose to use my time that way, Mr. Chairman. That's my right to
Please
use my
suspend
time that way.
Secretary Rubio.
Well, I can go on. I mean, there's other things here. We spent $227,000 for Big Cat's YouTube channel from USAID. We spent $14 million for social cohesion in Mali, whatever the hell that means. So I can go on and on. I got the list here, and there's more. I didn't even bring the whole list. In the case of El Salvador, absolutely. Absolutely. We deported gang members, including the one you had a margarita with. And that guy...
Not true whatsoever. Kilmar Abrego Garcia is not a gang member. He's never been charged of a crime. He's not an MS-13. He's not a terrorist. If you're so fucking confident, bring him back and give him due process under the law, prove that he's actually a criminal, and send him to a prison. Why won't you do that, little Marco?
Guy is a human trafficker, and that guy is a gangbanger, and the evidence is going to be clear in the days to come.
Mr. Chairman,
the evidence is going to be clear? Meaning you don't have the evidence and you didn't give him due process? You're admitting it.
Senator,
I'm sorry,
please,
Mr. Chairman.
Secretary
No.
Rubio has the floor.
Mr. Chairman, he can't make unsubstantiated
Senator,
comments like that.
Secretary Rubio has the floor. You've had
Secretary
your time.
Rubio should take that testimony to the federal court in the
Senator,
United States because he hasn't done it under oath.
Here's another point, okay? There is a division in our government between the federal branch and the judicial branch. No judge in the judicial branch cannot tell me or the president how to conduct foreign policy. No.
Oh, okay, so the Supreme Court is meaningless. The Supreme Court is moot. Democracy is gone, and you are in a fucking dictatorship? Is that what you're saying? No federal judge can tell the United States president how he can operate? Then that's not a president. That's a fucking dictator.
No judge can tell me how I have to outreach to a foreign partner or what I need to say to them. And if I do reach to that foreign partner and talk to them, I am under no obligation to share that with the judiciary branch. Just like a judge cannot order me to negotiate with a foreign minister of Russia, they cannot order me to negotiate with a foreign minister or the president of El Salvador. And if I did negotiate with them, which we have responded to them, and we've told them we've had communications with the president of El Salvador, I am under no obligation under our division of powers in this country and to share with the judicial branch how I conducted diplomacy of the United States. It would actually be counterproductive. If I started sharing with courts, or frankly, with the media, my conversations with foreign leaders and all of their details, no foreign leader would talk to me again. And we would break trust with them. So I have complied with every court order.
Shit.
What I won't comply with is an order to disclose what I'm saying and what we're talking about with a foreign leader, because then they won't talk to me. Diplomacy doesn't work that way. About the student visas, let me say this. I don't deport anybody, and I don't snatch anybody. The State Department does not have officers in the street snatching everybody.
I'm just following orders, Commandant. I was just simply following orders. It was not up to me. I was not the one throwing them into the camps. I was just in charge of the Gestapo.
What I do is revoke visas, and it's very simple. A visa is not a right. It is a privilege. People apply for student visas to come into the United States and study. And if you tell me that you're coming to the United States to lead campus crusades, to take over libraries and try to burn down buildings and acts of violence, we're not going to give you a visa.
Is that what Ms. Ostork did?
We're not going to give you a visa.
Is that what she did? Come on, Mr. Secretary.
And every single one of these cases, the factors are different.
Senator,
the bottom line is, if you're coming here to stir up trouble on our campuses, we will deny you a visa. And if you have a visa...
First Amendment...
You hear that, guys? If you protest, you will have your visa revoked.
Find you, we'll revoke it.
In the United States?
And we're going to do more. There are more coming. We're going to continue to revoke the visas of people who are here as guests and are disrupting our higher education facilities. People are paying money. These kids pay money to go to school, and they have to walk through a bunch of lunatics
to the
who are here on student
newspapers
visas.
disrupting the
Simple
foreign
as
policy of the United
I want to
States.
do more. I hope we can find more of these people.
That's pathetic, Mr.
In fact,
Secretary.
the other day, some guys led a riot. I forgot what university it was, and I asked, please, can you find the arrest records of all the people that were arrested at that riot at that campus? Because if any of them have a visa, we're going to revoke it.
I feel so much...
See how he calls it a riot? He's talking about pro-Palestinian protests. Anybody and everybody who has participated in a pro-Palestinian protest, your name is on a list. It has been given to Marco Rubio, and the State Department will be coming after you. The First Amendment is gone.
Much safer.
All right,
Lock up people like Ms. Osterk, Mr. Secretary.
We've had enough time on the subject. Thank you very much. And we're going to move to Senator Lee.
All right, so listen, if you're watching this pre-recorded on YouTube, that's all I got for you. Marco Rubio is a spineless, fucking gelatinous worm. He used to actually have some pretty patriotic, pro-American standpoints, but ever since he became a Trump loyalist, he has completely gotten on his knees and throated Donald Trump's orange cock while cradling his fucking balls in his hand. Yeah, Marco Rubio's a little baby back bitch. If you still support him, go fuck yourself with a corkscrew. Anyway, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. It costs you nothing. It helps me immensely. And click that video right over there. I promise you, it's an absolute fucking banger. I'll catch you on the next one.